For this scholarship, it was just like 20 persons that were needed from 5 different countries. And I was like, that means they need just like 2 persons from Nigeria or thereabouts, or 5 persons from Nigeria. And I was like, how do I fit into this? So I didn't believe in myself so much to make it to the scholarships. Proof of English proficiency was also required. But then I didn't write any exam, all these IELTS exams and stuff. So I applied for proof of English proficiency certificate from my school.
You can do that?
Of course, So my school gave me the certificate alongside.
I already know you can get the transcripts from your school.
They did that alongside my transcript, stating that my lectures and everything were in English language. So it was what I used for all my applications.
It's been a while I made one of these videos talking about studies in the Netherlands, but thankfully I have here Ikem. You've been here for like 5 months or 6 months now, so pretty JJC.
Freshman.
Very fresh. The previous videos I have, people shared experiences from maybe 2022 or 2023. So it would be nice to also get a perspective of 2024, which was just last year. So I have some questions here which I'll be asking you, and I also have some questions that were asked in some of the previous videos I made. But before we jump into the questions, let's just do an introduction.
Thank you for having me, Dillion. My name is Ikem Stephen Onwameze. I have my bachelor's in archaeology and tourism management from the University of Nigeria and Nsukka, and currently I'm undergoing my master's program in advanced museums and heritage studies at REINWARDT ACADEMY.
Your surname again?
Onwameze.
Onwameze. Ikem Onwameze. First question, which I like asking all my guests, is why did you choose the Netherlands? There were definitely other countries you would have, I don't know, thought of while you were in Nigeria. So what made you decide to go with this very cold country?
It was just the opportunity. The opportunity came and I had to grab it.
Okay.
Yes, I have been applying for my master's in different schools, different countries, and when I saw the Netherlands opportunity, I was like, oh, cool. I never really reasoned the country actually, but when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is cool. I had to just apply, and luckily we are here.
Okay, nice. So you say like the country was cool. How did you know? Was this just research you found online or someone's experience?
Oh, this is where I would say all thanks to Dillion.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm surprised.
I know you never knew. When I saw that offer, when I got the offer actually, I started like researching about the country, the Netherlands, on YouTube. I kept seeing your videos and stuff. So especially during my visa applications, your videos really helped.
It's a pleasure. So you sent applications to different schools in different countries. But then when the offer from Netherlands came, that was when you decided to learn more about Netherlands.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you think about the code so far?
Bro, it's freezing in this country.
Talking about the application process for school, what did that look like for you, or how easy was it for you? Oh, that was a deep sigh.
My friends has always asked me this question. I think this is where I would say grace, because I just started making my applications around November 2023. And as April or May 2024, I already got a scholarship. But I submitted so many applications to different schools in this time frame. From January, it became more intense, because that was when I got my international passport, because it's one of the requirements for the application.
Were your applications for scholarship or for the school? I think I heard that you have to first get an offer from the school before you get the scholarship, or how does that?
Okay, for the Netherlands, not always, but for the Netherlands, for this particular course on my scholarship, one of the requirements or the prerequisites is that I would have gained an admission from the school, or I must have submitted an application to the school with a proof. I already submitted this application and the school acknowledged my application.
That will get back to you.
So for my scholarship, which is NOFIC, there was this form that we needed to sign. I would sign as the scholarship holder. My school would sign, and then NOFIC will sign also on the form.
Even though they haven't given you a yes or no yet.
You've not gotten the scholarship, you've not gotten the admission yet, but then a school in the Netherlands must sign the application form.
Do you know what would happen if you get the scholarship but the school doesn't give you the admission?
Bro, I had that experience. That was my...
Really?
That was my experience. My scholarship came before the admission offer. So that was why I said everything was just God doing things. For this scholarship, it was just like 20 persons that were needed from 5 different countries.
Yeah.
South Africa, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, Nigeria. And I was like, that means they need just like 2 persons from Nigeria.
Yeah.
Or thereabouts, or 5 persons from Nigeria. And I was like, how do I fit into this?
Yeah.
So I didn't believe in myself so much to make it to the scholarship.
So you got the scholarship before the school gave you the admission?
Yeah, the school already sent a mail. They refused to sign the form for me before I submitted the application because they said I submitted my application late. The school that signed for me later on sent me a mail that I submitted my application late, so they can't process it. So everything was just like... Yeah.
So a different school signed for the scholarship.
Yeah.
But your current school did not sign.
They did not, yeah.
But then when you got the scholarship and you got admission from your current school.
When I got the scholarship, later on my school sent me a mail saying that they revisited my application.
Yeah.
And they scheduled me for an interview.
So how did your scholarship now link to your current school?
The thing there is that the scholarship assigns a school to you. Now they look at what you want to do.
Okay.
And then they look at the schools that has what you need.
Why do they then have the requirement of a school signing if at the end of the day they might choose a different school for you?
One of the reasons is for them to be sure that you applied to a school in the Netherlands.
Okay, not necessarily that that's the school you must go to, but just to show that there's an application.
Yeah, they have schools they work with, all right? Because this scholarship is Cultural Heritage Scholarship Program, CHSP. They selected schools in the Netherlands that offer this expertise.
Okay. Moving on, we'll still talk about what that scholarship looked like and some of the requirements. But I'm really interested in why you decided to do a master's, because till today I still tell myself that after bachelor's, I'm not going to school anymore, except maybe an online school. So what inspired you to still say, I'm not done with school yet?
Just like you, I said, when I finished my bachelor's, I was like, I ain't gonna read signposts anymore, nothing. I didn't really get a job offer immediately after school. So I was like, well, people that had masters are still looking for a job, and where am I going to with just my bachelor's? Right? Okay. So during my youth service, National Youth Service, I served at National Museum of Unity, Enugu State, Nigeria.
Okay.
So that was the basis or the genesis of my scholarship. So one of my supervisors, Dr. Mrs. Onyejekwe, she met me one of the days at work, and she said, yeah, it's really nice seeing a young boy like you doing something in the heritage and museum industry. So what's your plan after this? I was like, ma'am, I would love to furthermore in the industry. I would love to gain more expertise and professional levels. She was like, that's really great. So what have you been doing about that? And I told her of my applications for international scholarships and all. And next thing, she started sending me links on WhatsApp to scholarships. So she actually sent me the link to this scholarship. The ones I've been doing,
wow.
The ones I've been doing on my own, I didn't get them. But she sent me this link and she said, I believe you will get it. I'll keep praying for you. Those were her words. And when I saw just 20 persons needed from 5 different countries, I was like, I can't do this. I submitted my application late. Not like late, but it was 2 days to the deadline.
Okay.
She kept pushing me like, just do this. And it was just her efforts. I was like, okay, let me just try, which I did. And because then I haven't gotten any school to sign on my documents. So I wrote to them about that none of the schools are, so they give me 1 week grace.
Well, that's really interesting. The next question is about the tuition fees for masters. I know you're currently on scholarship, but do you have an idea what these tuition fees look like?
Yeah, for my course, for my school, it's 9,400 euros, if I'm not mistaken.
A
year, yeah. But then you have the opportunity or the privilege to pay by installments.
This 9,400. Is it just for the tuition or it covers other things?
It's for the tuition. It doesn't cover your textbooks.
Okay.
If you need textbooks.
It
doesn't cover your travel expenses for your study trips.
All
right. So, it's just for the tuition actually.
But your scholarship covers all of this.
Yeah, my scholarship covers.
Talking about the scholarship opportunities, you have mentioned Norfolk.
Yeah.
Are there other scholarship opportunities that you think had good potential, or were you just trying out random scholarships you saw online?
I think I was...
It's the way you sigh before these answers.
Trying to... of course. To an extent, I was applying randomly, but then when I see where I have the potentials or the schools that have what I needed, I try to push more. There are other scholarships under NOFIC. This my particular scholarship, Cultural Heritage Scholarship Program. This is the first of its kind. So we just started this one last year. They just included it recently.
Are there any other scholarship opportunities that you came across or that you know of now that comes to mind?
For the Netherlands, I don't for now. I see some opportunities now because I am in the country. So I do get some notifications on my phone about PhD opportunities, masters and stuff.
I'll probably try to get some of those links from you later,
sure.
and I can put it on the screen during editing. But yeah, talking about NOFIC, what was the application process like for the scholarship? What were the documents you had to provide? One question I got from a previous video was, do you have to provide an English certificate or English whatever? Was that something that also came to play in your application? And then also, what does the scholarship offer? Does it cover your expenses, some of these things you mentioned after the tuition fees?
So first, for the documents, international passports, transcripts, certificates, study certificates, and proof of English proficiency was also required. But then I didn't write any exam, all these IELTS exams and stuff. I applied for proof of English proficiency certificate from my school.
You can do that?
Of course, so my school gave me the certificate alongside.
I only know you can get the transcripts from your school.
They did that alongside my transcript, stating that my lectures and everything were in English language. It was what I used for all my applications.
That's smart. Did you know of this before somebody told you?
I think I had to research. What prompted my research was I do see some countries being exempted from these exams because the English language is their official languages. And then I imagined having all my classes from primary school to the university in English language and English being the official language of Nigeria. So I think I searched the net or something and I saw that.
Could get from your school. Okay.
So
nice.
And then, of course, statement of purpose.
I feel like that's where you talk about, it's like a cover letter where you talk about, why you want to do this, what value you can add.
Yeah, that's the major thing they look out for, and then your CV to an extent.
And the application process, was this just like an online form you just filled and everything, or did you also have to do biometrics?
No, there were no biometrics. It was just the online forms, upload the forms and that was it.
Well, let's move on to what your master's program is about. You said it's about, let me see if I can remember, something museum, something heritage, something advanced management.
Okay,
What's the name?
So the course is Applied Museum and Heritage Studies. Generally, it's all about the advanced ways of managing museums and heritage resources.
This is a really interesting course. What excites you so much about museums?
I have been this lover of culture. Yeah, that's me.
I can see it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's something I love so much, and then I feel when we talk about sustainability, we don't just talk about the environment. Also, heritage used to be sustained. And then we look at the younger people. That's my own view of it. Or for me, I feel if we don't take care of our culture, if we don't resuscitate the ones that are dying, we might end up losing our heritage, might end up losing our roots where we came from. So,
what is this master's? What is your master's about? Is this, like you said, learning all of these advanced ways to preserve museums, or are there specific examples you can mention? Yeah,
it's a very interesting program too. Tough and challenging, I would say. It's interesting because it's not all about reading, having lectures and stuff. It's very practical in nature. Like every week, we go to museums, museum visits. We have lectures with museum or heritage professionals. They teach us things about heritage, about museum management, and all of those things. And just last week, we went to Belgium for a 5 days study trip.
Covered by your scholarship?
Yes, of course, Still around this museum industries. We went to so many museums in Antwerp, Leuven, and Brussels. So it's trying to see the differences between the Netherlands and Belgium museums. All right, so it's all about the advanced way of managing museums. There is some of these discourses around the heritage industry. We try to talk about decolonization, how do we achieve these things. We also have this interest in storytelling, all right? So these are ways.
Is that why you get to do a lot of public speaking?
Yeah, it's one of the prerequisites for my course, because sometimes we also have these oral exams that you have to do.
Okay.
So testing how professional ground on public speaking.
Yeah.
How do you address people?
Okay, give us a short speech about one of the museums you have visited recently.
I will talk about.
I actually thought you would not take up the challenge.
Oh, really?
Go on.
Because I've visited many museums. So I will talk about the REINWARDT Museum.
Yeah.
That's where I would be doing my internship by next month. They have different branches. They have the one in Leiden, Rotterdam, and Amsterdam. So the one I loved most was the one in Amsterdam because of their exhibitions. They had this martial arts exhibition where you have to engage. I think one of the ways we can build the interest of younger people in museums is when we try to engage them, all right? Because younger people, they want their voices to be heard, to be valued, all right? So in this museum, they had these very nice exhibitions, and in one of them, this martial arts exhibition, where you had to like do the martial things, and it was very, very engaging, very participatory. I think at the end of it, you would be asked some questions to give feedback on what you think about these things. So
interesting. If you want to learn martial arts, you know the museum to go to. Talking about internships, how does these internships work? Well, actually, before this, there's also a question I got on a previous video of, do you have 1 year programs, 1 year master programs in Netherlands? And your course is 1 year.
Yeah, it is.
How many internships do you do?
Just one.
So what does this internship look like then?
Because we always go to we're always on the field.
Yeah.
So it's basically 7 weeks internship. So no lectures. It's all about you and your workplace, your internship place.
Yeah.
So how my school do it is there's what we call research markets in my school. So during this period, my school invites so many heritage industries, museums, archives, and all of this. So they come to my school. It's more like a conference. So each organization presents their problems where they need people to research on, or what they want people to do for them. And if you have interest in any, so you have to choose the one you're interested in.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, there is the REINWARDT Museum as well. The Dutch state has these plans of returning some collections back to Nigeria, and they want to carry out a research on the Nigerian people about this return. Yeah. So I was like, this is very interesting, and so I had to go for that particular one.
Nice. So after these 7 weeks, you are back to school, and I don't know, you're probably writing some papers or rounding up.
Yeah, after the internship, we expected to write our reports. In my school, we don't call it project writing or thesis writing. Yeah. We call it report writing. Yeah, so you write your report about your, just like thesis. Yeah. Yeah, and then you do your final exam. But then no lectures during this period. You have your time to do your report writing, and maybe your life after.
Okay. Okay, so we had a little break and I changed the background color. Well, let's talk about the expectations versus reality. I think in the few conversations we had before this video, you talked about how you didn't expect it to be this difficult. So what were your expectations before relocating here, coming to this school, and what is the reality currently, and how is it different from your expectations? Another sigh.
Okay, I had this mentality because of what I've heard back home that it's always easier here.
I had that too.
So I was like, okay, yeah, it's easier. I would go to school, come back, go to work, make money, blah, blah, blah. And here I am. But then reality now it's quite very challenging, though it's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, and it gives me what I want as in the professional industry.
Challenging in the sense of things you have to study or assignments or...
For last semester, doing all the visits to museums.
Wait, how many semesters do you have in this year program?
I think two semesters.
And you're already done with 1 semester?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the first semester ended in December. So this is a new one. Okay. That would end in August, hopefully. Yeah, so for the last semester, for all the visits we do, there was this course we had, Engaged Professionalism. So it's basically about the industry, going to the field. And so for every visit, you are expected to write a report. So imagine from September to December, writing this report. And then I think we expected to write not less than 65 pages. Yeah. Writing these reports for every visit. Every visit is interesting. All the visits are interesting. Yeah. But what's tiring is writing the reports. Yeah. All right. So you have to pay maximum attention, bring in your own critical questions into the reports. Yeah. Right. We also have these other assignments to do. We also have there's what we call reflective paper writing. Here you have to pick a topic that is kind of a societal issue.
Yeah.
So for me, it was the attractiveness of museums to the younger generation.
Yeah.
How do we attract the younger people to museums?
Yeah.
It was something I had to write on. So it was like writing a thesis, but then not to go deep into the field.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How many are you in your current program or department?
We are 22.
Oh.
I think 22 or 23, yeah.
Let's talk about language barriers. So I know it's like an international place with especially all this scholarship, but do you ever get faced with these language barriers, maybe in a lecture or somebody explaining something about a museum? What does that look like for you?
There's not much really a barrier for us because my lectures are in English.
Okay.
Yeah, for the master's program in my school, it's English.
Yeah.
But for the bachelor's, it's Dutch. And also in our museum visits, we don't have this challenge. Just that sometimes some museums context or texts at the museum are written in Dutch.
Yeah.
So you have to like find a way to translate it or find a Dutch person to explain them to you.
Yeah.
So but then it's kind of a bit easier for us.
Yeah.
But my school currently, they organized a Dutch class for us.
Free?
So, yeah, freely, yeah. It's a free class and not mandatory. So if you're interested, you can join. So here we are taught basic Dutch.
So who had it? If you have not learned that one, what have you learned?
I can't remember what I don't know what you just asked me now.
Hat is how are you?
Oh, that's true. We told that yesterday.
You can't remember.
This language is freaking me out.
I'm also very interested when it comes to scholarships and schools. I get curious, what kind of support do you get from the school? I mean, you just highlighted one, that you have this free Dutch classes that started, but are there any other ways you get support? In the previous interview, somebody talked about like you have access to free therapy whenever you want it,
and they also have therapists as well. And
it's free? Or?
Yeah, it is free. They have therapists and you can have as many sessions as you.
Do you have any of that? Do you have financial support, mental support?
Yeah, I think we have such in my school. You have access like to the university library. There you can access all the books you want with using your library card. My school, during some of our visits to museums, they buy our tickets. They pay for our tickets.
Yeah.
My school do that. Yeah, just like the mental health parts, you also have your counselors in school.
Yeah.
Who you can always meet when you have some challenges and stuff. And then when you think you are not okay with some lecturers, you can still talk to these people about it and you can find a way to help.
Have you had any of that yet?
No. No.
Even if you have, would you? One thing I also wanted to ask with the language barriers is how is it like communicating with your fellow mates?
In my class, we have just like 2 Dutch natives. Yeah.
Then English is everybody.
Yeah, because we have almost the continent.
Yeah, in that class.
Yeah.
Well, the last question was going to be what advice or tips do you have for anybody? But before we get to that, let's look at some questions from my previous videos. As a student or worker, are there some questions you'll be asked at the airport or special documents that you have to bring?
Of course, your international passport and your admission letter.
Okay.
Yeah, because when I mentioned I'm a student, are you traveling? If I said for my studies, which school I mentioned, what course? Well, like, can I see your admission letter?
Yeah.
So I had to show them, as a proof.
Yeah, there was also this thing about scholarship. In a previous video, the person mentioned that they had to be top 5% of their class. It was a requirement in the scholarship application.
You are only considered for the scholarship if you graduated top 5% of your class in Nigeria, so in your bachelor's.
Was it also a requirement for you to be a top certain percentage of your class?
No, it's not a requirement, but then it gives you an edge. So it's something I mentioned both in my statements of purpose and also in my CV, being in the top 1% of my class. Although sometimes it's not like it's a prerequisite. Sometimes it's possible that they don't look at these things.
Yeah.
They look at your career goals and your interests. What's your motivation?
Yeah.
So
who then told you to include it if it wasn't asked?
I think I saw my friend's CV, and I think one of my lecturers also mentioned that, after reading my statements of purpose, she asked of my CGPA and my stuffs around the class, and she said, you have to mention these things, your achievements. So you have to mention them.
Do I have to prove that I was top 5% of my class? So they don't have to prove unless it is asked, but it just gives an edge. But another question is also, what is top 5%? Is it first class or second class, or how do you know that you're in the top 1%?
For my class, we a class of almost 180.
Yeah.
And I was the third best graduating students
in the class.
in the class.
I think if you have that, it's nice to include it. Just gives you an edge. There's also a question of, do I have to write English exams? You already answered that with the proficiency in English you got from school.
Yeah.
Is there a tuition deposit that can be paid if there's no scholarship? I don't think there are deposits, but you can pay in installment.
Yeah,
Do you
it's more
think-
like I think that's the same thing.
Yeah. Somebody said, can you clarify on the top 5%? But you already had that. I think if the whole top 5% is difficult, you can just say something like, I was the third best graduating student.
Yeah.
I was the second. This was my CGPA.
Yes.
Something like that. So you don't have to stress on it. Has to be
Yeah.
particular. Okay, very last question then is, any advice for anybody watching this video?
So one thing I would advise people who are seeking out for scholarship is just to be resilient. Of course, you would get rejection letters. It shouldn't determine your future or your destiny for you.
Yeah.
Right? This should be a stepping stone for you. Also, in my case, I think I would advise people not to look down on themselves.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really important because I looked down on myself in this course. If I wasn't pushed to do it at the end of the day, I might not be here. I also think one of the things that we should include in our statements of purpose, or how we should construct the statement of purpose, is first try to identify a problem. In my own case, having worked with the National Museum, I found out that there were loopholes in the management of museums. So now this is a problem for me. I started looking for ways to tackle this problem. And then when researching for schools, seeking for admission, these are things you are looking out for. Right? So when you see these things, also mention it in, now you've identified a problem, how would the school help you to achieve this problem? Or to achieve the solution to this problem. So these are tips we should also consider.
Okay. So one thing Ikem forgot to talk about was that he also gets paid for his scholarship. So do you want to share a bit of that?
That's true. Yeah, sorry, I forgot. Yeah, I get paid monthly by the scholarship, and they also pay for my health insurance. They gave me a one-time payment for my books and stuff. Yeah, that was around how many euros then? I can't remember. Hundreds of euros. And then the allowance I get paid, it's actually fair enough to accommodate you for your housing, your feeding.
What's the logic behind them paying you to study?
For your survival, they brought you here, so they had to pay for your flight. Even if you're returning back home, they also pay for your flight, the return flight. They try to make you comfortable. And because it's a 1-year study program, the aim, like in my admission letter, it was stated that I was not expected to work because of the intense nature of the study. So unless you're a part-timer, then you can work. As a full-timer, we're not expected to work. So we get paid by the scholarship to sustain you because you can't work.
Do you mind sharing your contact details?
Of course.
Okay, I'll put it in the video description. You can reach out directly to Ikem if you have questions. That's all I have. I'm hoping I didn't miss out on anything, but if I do, I'll probably ask those questions to my next guest. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Ikem. It's so interesting because when Ikem came to the Netherlands, we're still talking on WhatsApp. I think when the Nigerian and Netherlands group chat, we're still talking, our communication was still like broken here and there. When will we meet? We schedule, we postpone, we schedule, postpone. And then one day we just met in church. So I started going to a new church, and he attends the church also. And then we met, and it was like, finally we meet. I got him. Finally we meet. So it's really nice that I could also have you here share your story. I'm really glad that my videos could also be helpful for you. Any questions you have, please leave in the comments. Please share this video with anybody who is looking to try out some of these opportunities somebody might be helpful for. Also subscribe so you can see more videos and interviews like this. Thanks for watching. Thanks again for joining us. I already gave him jollof rice.
That was nice.
And then we're going to end the evening with Gary and Granite.
Thank you for having me, Dillian. That was really a nice one.
Of course, of course. This is the part of the video where it always feels weird. You don't know how to end it, but just feel free to walk out of the stage.